Okay, thrilling mill users. Today we're going to talk about how to mill more than one ring in rotary on a 3-jaw chuck on a Revo C mill. Now I've got 3 rings here. And for giggles and grins, we've got a small Euro shank with no crown on it at all. We have a large man's basic gold wedding band. And then we have a 3rd ring. Now, interesting thing you're going to see here is 2 out of the 3 have ring rails. The small Euro shank and the large male band have ring rails, whereas my 3rd ring down here that has a crown, stone, and everything in it has no ring rail. Common enough, we see this all the time. Whenever you're building a model like this, you want to go with the ring that has the smallest ring rail and throw away everything else. All other ring rails will confuse the software. We want to stick with the smallest. The reason is, in rotary, when we cut down toward the center of the model, the ring rail stops the cutter from going any deeper. So the smallest ring rail is where you want to stop, not the biggest. There are times when you can have a small ring here that is actually smaller than the largest ring rail, and what would happen then is you would never even reach that small ring because the large ring rail would prevent you from cutting any deeper. So once you've got that set up, the next thing you want to do is go ahead and turn off your gems. So in this case, what we would do would be to throw away the large ring rail, and I go ahead on Euro shanks. I always throw away the outside Euro shank ring rail too, because it can cause problems. And then if I see little glitters of junk like that, I throw them away. Also, while it doesn't make any difference, I go ahead and highlight my creation layer curves and I delete them too. There we go. There's another little pick floating out there, piece of space junk. So you want everything as clean as possible. There we go. Now, it doesn't matter where that particular ring rail is positioned physically in space. We don't care. It can, as far as along the y-axis, it can be anywhere it is. In this case, we leave it associated with its original ring. We want to have about 3 millimeters of space, give or take, between each ring, just to make it possible to cut the thing off from the stick when we're done building it. Will we be able to reach all the way through here with the hollowing cutter? Yeah, actually you could. This one would reach that far. So 1, 2, 3, I got a little more than 3, I got 3.5 there. I'll just squeeze it up a little bit like that. And this one's right at about 3, 1, 2, 3, 3.5. So we're good to go on both of those. With the large men's ring, I have a standard set of my favorite little supports that I would normally have on the outside of a ring here. Problem is, they don't touch the other ring. That is always a problem. So what you're going to need to do is have supports that go from one to the next. And the other thing I would do is I would stack the largest ring down here at the bottom and go out toward the smallest ring, or vice versa, start with the largest ring and head down to the smallest ring because you've got a taper. So in this case, we would want to take the big guy, this guy, let's blow that up. We want to take him and move him up here someplace. At the same time, you want to grab this one and those pieces, and we'll pull him down to about the center of the universe like that. And we missed a part, so we'll have to undo that and come back up here and grab that part. There we go. Always be careful when you're moving stuff that you get everything to move. Grab my standard old supports, get rid of them. Now, one of the things that you can do, one of the things that we used to do back on the Revo A and B mills when we would do this, is we would just extrude the smallest ring rail all the way out. Well, that's not going to work here today because we've got parts that are too big. So what I'm going to want to do is make some supports, comes out this way for this one, and then put supports in between each set of these. And the easiest way I can think of is to make a cylinder. I'll go down here to my U03 layer, make a cylinder for my solids, and I'm going to come in here like this. I'm making him about 1 millimeter in diameter. You can see how it's longer than it needs to be. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull him down like that, and then there's the inside of my ring. I can go to X-ray and kind of see that. Sometimes X-ray, sometimes ghost. There's the inside of the ring. Well, that means that my support down here sticking the inside of my ring. That's unacceptable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that guy and I'm going to tip him. And my snaps are on, so I'll turn off my snaps. It makes it easier to rotate things. And I tip it like that. And now that goes from one ring to the next ring, completely inside the edges. Very easy to clean up. Okay, that's cool. Let's do the same thing down here. Let's grab another one of those. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to bring it from there to about like that. And this way we can see that we're still inside our ring in the flat surface. And hopefully we're inside our ring here. And I can tell you we're not, just because of the shape of the ring. So what we'll do is we'll come out here in perspective, take another eyeball on it. And we'll see that we're good here. We're not good here. So we need to do some more tipping. So we'll go ahead and tip that one some more. Same trick. Same concept. Come up here, tip it over like that. Pretty good. A little bit of cleanup work to go, not a lot. Now that I've got these guys, I highlight both of them. I come down here in my through finger, I go to transform, I come down to my polar array because I'm a lazy guy. F4, and I'm going to polar array about somewhere between 7 and 9 of those. Let's go with 9. And when we're done, you can see that we've got them a little bit out of line. So I'm going to grab all of them by right-clicking on the user 03 color, come up to my rotate tool, go F4, grab this guy. I'm just going to rotate it around so that my supports bracket my prongs. Just a nice way to build this guy. It's going to make it easier to cut that off. I think you can see that right here. Now, am I going to get this? This is not a good application for this particular shape of ring because I'm not going to get on both sides of this piece. It's got the taper in the wrong spot. I'm just using it as an example. It's a bad example, but it's a workable example. Say that head was not there. There you go. That works. Let's go ahead and mill it like that and say, yeah, it was designed to have a different color alloy, and we'll put that in later. So there are 3 rings. They're ready to rock and roll. The only other thing I need to do now is I need to put some supports out here off of the little guy to hold him in place. So I'll grab that one. Bring that out like that. This one doesn't have to be as long, so we'll just go ahead and straighten him right up like that. And I'm going to use 1D, and I'm going to shrink him down to he's only about 3 millimeters long. And now we're going to go ahead and do the exact same trick. We're going to polar array, and it even remembers our number up here from the last polar array, 9, and we're done. How about that? There are our supports. Now, the system doesn't really care. We can call them supports. We can call them whatever we want to do. We're going to treat them like they're part of the model. We're going to call these supports, so we're going to group them. And the rest of it is model. All of it. We have done all kinds of monkeying around and changing, so what do we want to do? Job bag. We have a single ring rail. You can turn off green layer and see that. There it is. There's our single ring rail. We're ready to rock and roll. So we go into our Revo Builder, Revo C, Model. Well, Model is all of this stuff. It then asks me for supports. I'm going to go say User Supports On and grab my grouped supports. It says Manual Supports Not Recognized. That's normal. Hit the hollowing. Now it came in with an extra small ID, and that's because I have an extra weird wax in my system. So when I go next, I'm stuck with using that 33 millimeter tube because it's got that small hole to fit here. Go next. Notice here we have our 12 millimeter disc for outside. There we go. Hollowing. Toolpath. That's the one we want. Part 3. We don't want to mess with cut angle. We don't want to do inside-outside curves. We want a border distance of 2 millimeters, which will take us 1, 2, and leave us stuck in there. Let's go ahead and do the toolpath and see what we got. All right, we have toolpaths. Let's see what we've got. We'll blow up perspective. Come in here to hollowing, and you can see that we're going to hollow all the way down. All the way down. You're going to clean this out so you have a comfort fit here. It will mill that. you have a non-comfort, but you have a flat surface in here, it will mill that. And that's about the maximum. You don't want to go more than about 30, 32 millimeters depth with that cutter, just because there's no shank to go any further. So that's going to give you a nice result right there. And then the outside cut, very simple. It's a full wrap. And you can see that you're going to go down in between. So when you cut these prongs off, you'll be able to deck that off and get a finished result. And again, we mill only down to the ring rail itself. That's the limitation, is this ring rail is stopping us from milling any deeper. So that's what you want to be on the lookout for at all times. In fact, if I come up here, you see it says cut into ring rail 4/10, and it doesn't look like it's coming all the way down on here the way I'd like it to. So you can actually open this up and change that to cut into the ring rail like by a millimeter, and we'll make that toolpath and look at it again. Okay, the adjustment we made here worked out. You can see now we're coming all the way down, and we're going to meet here. We're not going to have a membrane left behind. That's another reason you want to inspect your toolpaths before you commit them to your thumb drive and take them to your mill. You can spot little things like that. It'll save you a ton of work, a ton of time, and aggravation later on. So that's how you do multiple rings that have multiple sizes on a single tube of wax.